Hello, bar exam takers. I'm Lisa Duncanson and I am your bar exam guru. Today I wanted to provide a quick video to let you know why you should take the bar exam cram session that's upcoming. So there's a few reasons. There is so much that examinees miss on the essays and also on the MBEs that are required for passing. So it's one thing to read a 150-page outline for contracts or constitutional law or property, and it's quite another to actually be able to turn that into an essay answer. Very difficult. You need something to bridge the gap. And unfortunately, these outlines that most companies produce are not focusing in on what the California bar examiners are truly looking for. So I want to give some examples, and then I'm going to refer you to some of our videos on my YouTube channel at barexamguru. So one of the things that is people really don't know is that if you are in trust and you are dealing with a charitable trust, which they test from time to time, and it's not been tested in a while, so I would say it's due sometime in the next couple of bar rounds. If you have a charitable trust, there are three things that you have to bring up. One is that a charitable trust, the rule against perpetuities does not apply to a charitable trust. You do not need to define the rule against perpetuities. Use it as though you understand it. And that's the only place I've ever seen the rule against perpetuities tested on the California bar essays. Yes, it comes up on the MBEs, but that's different. So they want you to bring that up. They want you to say charitable trusts are not governed by the rule against perpetuities, because a charitable trust is allowed to go on in perpetuity. And if that were to be violated, if the rule against perpetuities would apply, then never mind the 90 years plus a life or whatever you need to know for that, for the MBEs, it's an exception to the application of the rule against perpetuities. Then so that's just quickly mentioned, and they want to see that. And if you don't have that, it's just kind of a so-so essay coverage of charitable trust. The next thing you want to bring under charitable trust, under the rule against perpetuities does not apply, is that should that trust ever become a private trust, and it's not going to on the fact pattern, but you're going to say, should this trust ever become a private trust, then the rule against perpetuities would apply. 2 sentences, a heading for a rule against perpetuities, spell it out, don't do the RAP abbreviation. You can do it in your answer, 2 sentences, and you just put yourself way above everybody else on that same essay. The other thing you need to know and be competent in for trust is the doctrine of cypre and equitable deviation. So when you have a charitable trust, one of the most common issues that arises is you're going through formation. Remember, a trust doesn't have to be in writing unless it's something that's covered by the statute of frauds. So property would obviously require a writing. So it's that equal dignities doctrine. You want to use that language, equal dignities doctrine. Even if the property at issue is not something covered by the statute of frauds, you want to show the bar exam grade is your breadth of knowledge. You're not going to talk about professional responsibility or evidence, but show your breadth of knowledge within that area. Really important. That's what passing and way above passing answers are made of. So you will start with the trust, and you'll go through formation, and something is wrong with the race. So let me give you a past exam example. The race is the property, the assets of the trust, and they must be delivered to the trustee or put in the trust. A trustee can be appointed, or the court can appoint one if that trustee is outlived or just doesn't want to do it. So it's not going to fail for lack of a trustee, but it could fail under a charitable trust or any type of trust for failure to have the appropriate race. So the way they have tested this is a gentleman wants to provide a library in a really nice park. So he goes to the board, the trustees, he's selected 3 trustees, and he says, okay, I'm giving you a description of this farmland. It's a beautiful property, X number of acres, and I want there to be a park for children, and I want there to be a library for children. And then he gives them a check for $250,000, so that's nice, but not enough to build a building. And then he also gives them a list of stocks and bonds, and then also a description of the farmland. It's here, this many acres to the north, and this many acres to the south, and this is the acres across east and west. Very detailed description. However, that's not sufficient for delivery because there's no certificate, there's no title, there's no deed. A deed has to be delivered. So no deed has been delivered. So that huge piece of land will not be able to become part of the trust, in a charitable trust. So what can the court do? Oh, let's also talk about the stocks and bonds. The stocks and bonds, he just provides a list, stock A, B, C, D, and he doesn't ever give the certificates or the ownership title to those stocks. So that's not delivered. So all is left that's successfully been delivered to the trust raise is $250,000. So does the trust fail? Well, certainly the purpose, which is a valid purpose, to provide a public park for children and a library for children, is a legal valid purpose, and that's one of the elements to form a trust. However, $250,000 is not going to make that happen. So instead of just extinguishing the charitable trust, the courts want to affect the intent of the settlor. That's the person that creates the trust. And they typically give you a fact pattern where the trust is created during the lifetime of the settlor, and so you need to identify that as an inter vivos trust, which is a trust created during the life, okay, of the settlor. Minor issue, but required to have a really perfect above passing answer, which is what you want. So the doctrine of cypre is a doctrine that allows the court to alter the terms of the trust so long as the trust has a general intent, general charitable intent. If it's a specific intent, the court can't deviate the terms. So in this case, we have an example of a specific intent to make a library and a park for children. So the doctrine of cypre, which is spelled C-Y and then P-R-E-S, two separate words. The doctrine of cypre will fail because there isn't a general charitable intent. So what's an example of a general charitable intent? It could be, I'm leaving $500,000 in this charitable trust to help people who are food deprived. They don't have, their food compromised. They can't get enough food to eat. They're, going through tough times. And so everyone in Orange County who meets a certain criteria will get that food. And that's, food sounds specific, but it's really a general gift. Let's say it was improve the quality of lives of all senior citizens in Orange County. That's even better answer or example. So that's a general gift, a general charitable gift. So that would work, but they don't give you that. So since cypre is going to likely fail, it's just a quick discussion. You don't have to define general intent. I want you to understand it. You don't have to define specific intent, but here, because the trust was specifically designed by the settlor to provide a park and a library, it will fail under cypre, the doctrine of cypre. The next thing you want to go to is equitable deviation. Equitable deviation allows the court and to seek justice and to try to effectuate at least part of the settlor's intent, can take that $250,000 and put it into something that would be along the lines with. So maybe a couple of bookmobiles to go around the neighborhoods, or a book loaning service or something like that. Maybe not a library, but something like that. They can deviate. Equitable deviation allows the courts to deviate from the trust terms only in a charitable trust. That's where it's applicable. So you need to have rule against perpetuities is not applicable to charitable trust. Should that charitable trust become a private trust, then rule against perpetuities applies. Do not define rule against perpetuities. Keep it short. That's all they want to see. Next thing, I've got a charitable trust. Will cypre work? No, because it's an intent, a specific intent to create a library and a park for children. Doctrine of equitable deviation, or just equitable deviation. The courts can, in the interest of justice and to effectuate the settler's intent, can deviate the terms of the trust and use that $250,000 or whatever was properly delivered to the trust race and accomplish something else that's in line with what the settler was intending. So a bookmobile or several bookmobiles, or loaning books, and it could just be from an office and people can do it online. So website with books that you can borrow, kind of like a library online. So those would be things that the court, in the interest of making sure that the settler's intent is effectuated, could do something like that. So that's the rub. These are the insider tips, I would call them. These finer points that you have to bring up in order to pass, and you have to bring up in order to get an above passing answer. Every subject and subtopic has so many of these, and there are more for trusts. Okay, there are other things like I'm not going to get into it today. So this is the kind of stuff I cover in the Cram session. So I'm not droning on reading outlines to you. You have a Cram sheet book, which is about 55, 60 pages, condensed definitions. I think they're great definitions. My students over the years have told me that one student recently for the February 22 bar exam said that his first one-day session early on in I think it was a late January Cram session, was he learned more in that one day than he did in the first month of Barbary. He was all over the place because you cannot memorize, thousands of pages of stuff. If I were you and you're taking Barbary, so be it. But understand that you have to bridge the gap. 150 pages, you cannot memorize that for 15 subjects. That's impossible. And maybe this information is in there. I doubt that a lot of it is there, but some of it is, but there's no emphasis. There's nobody saying, hey, when you write a trust exam, you need to know how to handle charitable trust. You need to know how to address rule against perpetuities, because if you miss that, you miss out. And it's not a passing essay. And people think, well, I don't understand why I got a 50 or a 55. I know trust. I know how to form a trust. I saw that there were duties breached by the trustee. There were joint trustees. Yeah, great. But unfortunately, you don't know the nuances. And there are other nuances, insider tips I call it, that everyone needs to know for trust. That's just trust. And trust is pretty simple. Community property has things that are unique and pretty unsettling to see that, oh my gosh, they want me to talk about transmutations even though there really isn't one. Defamation, you need to talk about interference with contract, the economic torts, if they're in a business. Even if the defamation isn't about the business, think about it this way. One of the rules that defines what a defamatory statement is this: a statement that tends to deter others from associating with that plaintiff, him or her, that plaintiff. So if the defamation is about them being a criminal and they're not, and that's an untruthful statement, people are probably not going to want to go to their shop and buy things from that person. They're I don't want to. It deters others from, visiting them, going in, associating with them. So that's a big deal. And so what they don't tell you is that there were contracts in existence at the time the defendant made the defamatory statement. The defendant knew about the knew about the contracts in existence, intended to interfere with those contracts, and that there were damages. None of that will exist on the fact pattern ever. So there are two tracks, and I'm going to wrap this up really quick because I promised a short video. We're almost at 15 minutes, so we'll go to 17 minutes. I'm going to do it super fast. In defamation, most people spend way too much time on the constitutional limitations. Gerst v. Welch, New York Times v. Sullivan. Great to bring those up, public figure, private person, and private person with a matter of public concern. Great. Keep it brief, because what they're looking for is either the privacy torts, which will be right in your face. They might even have a call to question for that. That's false imprisonment, intrusion and seclusion, misappropriation of name or likeness, and use of their name in a commercial advertising way or something like that. And false light, intrusion and seclusion, those are the ones that are tested the most. Misappropriation, name or likeness comes up a bit. The other track is the economic torts, and there'll be nothing to tell you or indicate that you should talk about interference with contract, interference with prospective advantage, because there won't be facts to drive that, and you need to do it. If you don't do it, it's a fail, flat out fail. So please review essays. And you need to sign up for the bar exam Cram session on Saturday, July 16th. It's from 9 to 6 p.m. And I'll post a link below or in my blog where I'm going to probably put this video. So all the best of luck to you. If you have any questions, call our office at 213-529-0990, 213-529-0990, or leave a comment on the blog, or you can contact us through the contact page or contact link on our website at barnonereview. That's barnonereview.com. All the best to those of you studying for the July bar exam that's coming up, and just know that you can do it. You've got to simplify, and you have to know these little items that are they're so impactful on your score. Without them, it's hard to get a 60. Without them, you're likely to get a 55. And every subject has multiple things like that, multiple unknown issues that they expect you to bring up. And no 150-page outline for PR, for community property, for contracts for property, torts, whatever it is going to contain that in a way that you're going to pick that up. So you really do need this class, and I don't want you to be someone like I've had so many times that's taken it 3, 4, 5 times, even more. And, you know, just give it some real consideration. And if you have any questions, I can respond to it, or one of my staff members will do that. Everyone here is knowledgeable, and we're all rooting for you. So I hope you consider the program, and I truly care about my students, and I do everything I can in my ability to make sure that everyone knows what they're supposed to do come exam day. Don't walk into the test without being confident. Don't walk into the test without knowing ahead of time, if I have contracts, it's going to be UCC or common law, and I'm going to pick up 2-207, which is a attempted modification, and how it comes in. Common law, it'll be they're trying to insert a time of the essence clause, which requires new consideration. Almost every contracts essay, UCC or common law, has that aspect, unless it's a straight contract breach, remedies exam, and that's different. Enough. I'm ending this video at just under 19 minutes. All the best to you. I'll hopefully see you in our Zoom class.